Did something terrifying just happen inside Jungkook's home? Why did HYBE go into panic mode? And what made Taehyung cry after seeing Jungkook lying unconscious? Stay until the end to uncover the shocking truth behind this heartbreaking night. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if your heart is already pounding. Did anyone ever imagine that a single phone call in the dead of night could change everything for BTS, for HYBE, and for millions of armies around the world? What really happened behind the closed doors of Jungkook's home that sent the entire industry into a storm of panic, confusion, and fear? Was this just a break-in, or something far more alarming, something that even the cameras couldn't capture? Stay with us until the end, because every second of this story reveals another piece of a puzzle that nobody was ready to face. He started as a quiet evening in Seoul. At least, that's what everyone thought. Jungkook had been home alone after returning from a private rehearsal, preparing for an upcoming project that HYBE had been keeping under wraps. The streets outside his residence were calm, the lights dim, and only the faint hum of city life echoed in the distance. But then, somewhere between the stillness of midnight and the whisper of dawn, something went wrong. Neighbors later said they heard a strange noise, glass shattering, followed by what sounded like a struggle. First, no one dared to investigate. After all, Jungkook's neighborhood was supposed to be one of the safest in Seoul, guarded by security systems and surrounded by silent luxury. But what the world didn't know was that, inside, chaos had already begun. HYBE received an emergency call. It wasn't from Jungkook. It was from someone in the building's security control room. "Something's wrong," the voice said. "We think someone's inside Jungkook's house." Within minutes, the company's internal alert system lit up like wildfire. Managers were woken from their sleep. Coordinators were told to stand by. The word break-in spread through private chats and encrypted calls faster than anyone could imagine. And then came the part that nobody expected. Taehyung. That very moment, Taehyung was finishing a late-night studio session. He had been composing quietly, lost in the rhythm of his own creation. Then his phone buzzed, one call, then another and another. The messages piled up, each one more alarming than the last. "Jungkook's house, something happened. They can't reach him." He froze. Those words hit like thunder. Without hesitation, Taehyung dropped everything and rushed out of the studio. Cameras caught him leaving in a hurry, wearing only a hoodie and cap, his car speeding through Seoul streets. It was 2:47 a.m. when he arrived near Jungkook's residence, only to find flashing red and blue lights dancing across the walls, police cars, ambulances, a few of HYBE's private security staff trying to control the growing chaos. And somewhere amid that confusion, a stretcher was being carried out. Taehyung's breath hitched. His heart pounded so violently that he could barely stand still. The moment his eyes fell upon the stretcher, he ran forward, only to be held back by an officer. "Please stay back, sir." But the words didn't stop him. "That's Jungkook," he shouted, his voice breaking. And then, as if the world itself had stopped turning, he saw Jungkook, pale, motionless, eyes closed. "Is he breathing?" The question fell from Taehyung's lips like a prayer. "Please tell me he's breathing." HYBE's emergency team arrived shortly after, their faces filled with the kind of panic that no press statement could ever disguise. Inside the ambulance, medics worked frantically, checking Jungkook's pulse, monitoring his oxygen. The cause? Unknown. Some said he fainted from shock after the intruder entered. Others whispered he might have hit his head during the incident. But the truth, the real truth, remained hidden behind the flashing lights and the guarded words of those who knew too much. Taehyung followed the ambulance to the hospital, refusing to leave Jungkook's side. Witnesses described him pacing outside the emergency room, his eyes red, his hands trembling as he tried to hold back tears. He had always been strong, calm, even in chaos, but that night broke something inside him. Reporters who later tried to approach him said his expression was unreadable, like someone carrying the weight of a secret too heavy to speak aloud. Back at HYBE headquarters, executives were in full crisis mode. Internal messages leaked online showed a level of fear and confusion rarely seen in the company's history. Ensure all BTS members are safe. Do not release any statements until confirmation. Activate private security immediately. Those were the orders sent out in the early hours of the morning. Social media exploded. What happened to Jungkook? Is Taehyung crying? Why is HYBE silent? Hashtags flooded every platform. Armies around the world stayed awake through the night, their hearts breaking as fragments of information trickled out. Blurry photos of ambulances, short clips of Taehyung at the hospital, and endless theories about who could have broken into Jungkook's house in HYBE sunrise. The world was watching. Every major news outlet camped outside the hospital. Cameras pointed at every door, every movement. But inside, where the truth was being lived, silence filled the air. Doctors confirmed that Jungkook was unconscious but stable. The faintest sign of relief washed over those in the room, but it wasn't enough. The question still burned: who was responsible? Police sources later hinted that the break-in seemed targeted, not a random act but something personal. There were no signs of theft. Nothing was taken. It was as if the intruder had come for Jungkook himself. The revelation sent shivers through everyone at HYBE. Panic turned to suspicion. How did the intruder know his schedule? How did they bypass security? Was this someone from inside the circle, or an obsessed outsider who had been watching for months? The investigation deepened, and with it, the fear that the walls protecting the idols were far thinner than anyone wanted to admit. Taehyung, meanwhile, never left the hospital for 2 straight days. Fans saw him bring a small blanket, a notebook, and Jungkook's favorite drink. Nurses described him sitting quietly beside the bed, sometimes speaking softly as if trying to call Jungkook back. At one point, someone overheard him whisper, "You promised we'd perform together again. Don't break that promise, please." Those words spread online, sending armies into tears. The emotional weight of that moment united fans across continents. Thousands began trending #StayStrongJungkook and #WeLoveYoung. Messages flooded social media in dozens of languages. It wasn't just about the break-in anymore. It was about love, loyalty, and the fragile humanity behind the fame. HYBE finally released a statement days later, brief, measured, and cautious. "We ask for understanding and privacy as Jungkook recovers from a distressing incident. The matter is under investigation, and we are working closely with authorities." But even that couldn't stop the speculation. Every fan wanted answers. Who was the intruder? How had Jungkook been found unconscious? And why did Taehyung seem so broken whenever the topic was mentioned? Some insiders claimed that when Taehyung first arrived at the hospital, he broke down completely, something that hadn't happened since BTS's early days. He was shaking, one source said. He kept asking if Jungkook was in pain, if he had called out for help. Another added, Taehyung wasn't just scared, he was devastated. The story took a new turn when police confirmed that surveillance footage showed a shadowy figure entering Jungkook's property around midnight. The person appeared to know exactly where the cameras were positioned, avoiding them with precision. This detail raised even more questions. Was this someone with insider information? Or was it a dangerous fan who had studied his movements for weeks? As investigators pieced together evidence, HYBE increased protection around all BTS members. Security vans were stationed outside their homes. Personal bodyguards were reassigned. Fans noticed it too. The group's usual smiles during public appearances now carried a hint of exhaustion, a quiet reminder that even global icons aren't immune to fear. Through it all, Taehyung became Jungkook's constant companion. He rarely spoke to the press. He avoided social media. But every time he left the hospital, cameras captured the glimmer of tears in his eyes. Fans described him as a guardian, a brother, a silent warrior standing between Jungkook and the world. Days turned to weeks, and finally a miracle. Jungkook woke up. The first thing he saw was Taehyung sitting beside him, eyes swollen from sleepless